a crash of yeah, sorry, it looks like our freaking Windows or YouTube just crashed. I was watching the chat, and yeah, I agree that Ken guy, he's awesome. Like his perseverance through adversity like that is definitely something inspiring. I mean, I would like to say that I'm as strong as a person as that, but I don't know if I am. So sorry that came back a little more quickly than we wanted to, because there was like 30 seconds left in the video, and I'm like, da, 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 and then crash, boom. Give me 1 second to bring TeamSpeak back up, and then we're ready to carry on for the second half of the show. All right, TeamSpeak is back up. Sorry, guys.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hello.
Yeah, that video, wow. I'm not even going to try and put words to it other than that's an amazing guy.
Yeah. I asked a lot of people in chat just hit it right on, like, hit the nail right on the head. Like, much respect, and like, like it's like life's short. Like, what else can I say? I've lost friends and stuff like that. Life is completely short, so you live it to the best of your ability and have as much fun and do things that matter. And just for him, it's streaming and playing games, and that connects him and that makes him happy. And for me, it's like podcasting and gaming and stuff too. So it's yeah,
gaming's always been my go-to when I'm feeling bad or upset or anything like that and just want to escape. Like, yeah, I've read sometimes, and movies or something, but just, I guess, not the fact that I can play the game, but connect with people like you guys or connect with whoever I'm connecting with at the time. It kind of becomes a moral support, and it's fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have. It's really funny, but I have severe anxiety, and it's made way worse by social situations, which is really weird considering how social of a person I am. But gaming has helped a lot with that.
Yeah, and I'm sure the podcast has put you through the limits too, organizing it all. It's been good practice, I imagine.
I used to be absolutely terrified of public speaking, and this was really, really scary at first.
It was scary for me too. 100%, man. Those first couple episodes, actually, the first couple months, I got the biggest butterflies going into a show. Biggest butterflies ever. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
I think what helps is I started treating it. It's like, I'm just gonna go and hang out with my friends.
True.
And then that way, it's just no butterflies. I was like, if I can get away with calling everybody in chat butt clenching nerds at one time, and everybody was like, "Oh, flattest." That was just it. Like, everyone's like, bare butts flattest. That's all I got.
That's awesome.
I was like, well, that's.
Oh, yeah. And for those just joining us, welcome back, or welcome to the EverCast show. We are a Landmark and EverQuest Next streaming podcast that streams every Sunday, starting next week at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. Right now we have with us Tenma from Landmark. He is an avid Landmark player, big within the Landmark community, organizes all kinds of group builds, and a creator of a PvP arena. So I guess we should say, if you guys want to participate in the PvP tournament that is about to happen in the stream in about 20 minutes, I guess, maybe 10 to 20 minutes, go ahead and teleport to the Thunderdome. Once again, that's the Thunderdome within Landmark. And when you get there, you need to find Tenma and send him a tell, because we only have room for 16 people. Now, how this is going to be scored is we're giving away 2 prizes. We're giving a Colonist Flight Suit away, and then we're also giving a Gem Seeker's Brooch, which is courtesy of EQ Nexus. And how we're going to be doing that is the highest scoring player and the lowest scoring player is going to get a prize. Now, this doesn't mean to purposely be the lowest scoring player to get a prize, because that would be really messed up. And that was a loophole I didn't actually see until now explaining it. Should we do the second lowest person?
No.
How
because
about
you're gonna
you want player on both teams?
No, you want the
deathmatch?
No, because you'd want everyone to try.
All right.
So that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, don't grift us.
All right. Yeah, we will find you, and when we find
listen. listen. I'm a dog in a cage. They'll let me out, man.
Oh
They'll let me. Like this dog wants to hunt. They'll let me out of my cage.
So
You see this white wall? That's all that is. But you say the word Tamlin a lot, unleash me. I will find you and I will hunt you down.
Flatus is a real person. He's an insanely intelligent artificial virus that we constructed that hosts the show with us from part-time. So he will just find your computer and appear in front of you.
I will infect you with the bare butts virus.
But once again, everyone head to Tenma. Claim Tenma's arena in-game, which is called
Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome, and go ahead and find Tenma, get to him, send him a tell, and say, hey, I want to be in the PvP tournament. We'll be showing that just a little later in the night. Right now, we're going to dive right back into the criticisms so far of the combat system, what we've seen of this early iteration, just because we didn't get to touch on a lot of points earlier. And there's a couple things that I want to touch on feedback-wise for the developers and for other people in the community, what I've been reading on Reddit and on the forums and what's been kind of aggregated. So, and our personal opinions, of course. Who would like to go ahead and start that off? I can, or if anyone has any personal kind of complaints with the system, with a productive, constructive solution to that problem. I'm wording this wisely for Kyless or Bill O'Reilly over there. I don't want her to get crazy.
I can say
so
it
think
right
of a
now.
gripe, think of how it could be fixed for you. Go ahead, Flatus.
Sure. I think aiming could be a little tighter. I think that I know you have to lead with the arrows, and I get that. Like people running in this direction, you're gonna want to lead so it hits them, and I get that. But I think more of my complaint is the sphere that you drop. I could feel like I point it where I want it to go, and I see, like, I know how to aim. I'm not, like, I play plenty of first-person shooters. I know how a reticle works. And I right-click on it, and it goes, but it doesn't go where I think it's going to go. It'll stop short, or it'll hit something else. Like, it'd go off in this weird direction, not where I think it's going to land. So I think it needs to, like, be a little tighter, or put something, something on the ground that kind of shows me where it's going to hit. Like that way I kind of get an idea of where it's going.
Absolutely. Tamlin?
Sure. I have one tip, one thing that I'd like to see fixed to the developers, and that is that props and voxel should be more physical. They should block incoming shots. I think that the first time I grabbed the bow and I was trying to snipe someone, and then I ducked behind a tree, but it didn't matter. Someone was hitting me through the tree. I'm like, oh, this is I should be able to use the cover that is provided to me to my advantage. And then to builders, my suggestion is to know what you're building, and you guys you might want to keep it simple, because if you make this epic, very complicated build, you might crush people's FPSs, and then they'll never show up to play because they literally can't. You want to make a good arena, but you also want to keep in mind how to not make it overly complicated.
Yep.
I will say one thing with the bow for me is I think the shooting speed or the projectile speed should be faster. I think you have to lead too much for how fast movement is, because it is a balancing. Yes, you don't want it to be too easy to snipe someone from afar, but you have to remember how fast movement and how sporadic movement is in Landmark. Now, this is already being toned down, as we've heard. They're thinking about a couple different systems or ways to kind of improve this, maybe give access to the PvP arena builder to what items can be used, cannot be used, and possibly limiting the trinket to one trinket. So you have to choose which is going to benefit you, and maybe we can get some energy costs and all that. That is a huge kind of complaint from everyone over Reddit and the forums, is that it is just too hard to hit people sometimes, especially from afar. I think that also has to do with the fact that the left to right cursor scrolling, or I guess scrolling left to right to move my aim, I don't know how to say that. It is a different speed than up and down. I think that up and down and all around should be more FPS-like in that it's consistent. If I want to be competitive, I shouldn't be able to know if I want to look up and look down, it's the same as looking left to right, or at least give us the options in-game to adjust that. Those are my two big complaints right away.
Yeah, and I didn't notice that until you pointed it out to me, and I examined it myself. And it's basically like your ability to move on one axis is different speed than your ability to look up and down on the other axis. And if you could, like you can do with your mouse, you can adjust the scroll speed. If you could like tune it so that they're equal, if you wanted them equal, or if you wanted them, at your own preferred setting, that would be awesome.
Definitely. Another point was the camera. The reticule is in the center of the screen, but the character's kind of offset to the left. Some people were saying that if it was center, that it might be better. But Flatus said Gears of War is situated in a similar way. That third-person over-the-shoulder combat is kind of better because if it's in front of your character, you can't necessarily see what you're aiming at.
Defiance is set up the same way. Like if you ever played Defiance, like your character is off to one side, and you can actually adjust. You can adjust where it is, like it's one of the UI things. But again, I don't have a very strong first-person shooter, experience compared to some other people. But I do know that, like some people, all they do is they only do it in first-person perspective. They don't even go to third-person.
All right, Kailes, Tenma, some negative criticism on the combat so far, this first iteration.
Definitely the ability to shoot through voxels. It definitely has to be fixed. I just pwned in that one. Y'all missed it. Sorry, couldn't help it. But yeah, the ability to fire through voxels is definitely something that has to be fixed. I can't think of anything else other than that at this point. I know they are fixing some of the other stuff that we have already touched on tonight, but that itself would be a game changer and literally make the staff not quite as used as much as it is.
Real quick. I went over to Tenma's stream real quick because I have it up. I'm preparing for later. While he's doing the podcast, he just had 12 kills and 1 death in a PvP death in a team game. Don't mess with Tenma. He is bad news.
Y'all didn't get it on film. I was.
I actually caught just the very end where it popped at the scoreboard. I switched over real quick when I noticed that you had 12 kills and 1 death.
That's awesome. Kailes?
For me, the only constructive criticism with feedback on how it would be changed for me to make it more enjoyable for me, because I realize some people actually like it the way it is to allow me to keybind my weapon attacks to my keyboard and allow me to move my character with my mouse. Because it's, for me, very counterintuitive for my personal gaming style to be able to play in the way that Landmark is currently set up for PvP. I can't enjoy it. It's extremely frustrating. And I don't feel like it comes down to a skill or lack of skill. For me, it's a muscle memory / training issue. And
No, I actually think that's a good point, because Landmark is sort of an MMO, so you have those old school MMORPG players who are used to pressing 1, 2, 3, 4. Even Age of Conan, even though it's very active base, has that 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of setup. I think that could be very cool. Instead of having it bound to your left-right mouse button, have it bound to 1 or 2 as your choice as a gamer. Of course, you still have to move with the mouse to a point, strafing and stuff and aiming, but that would kind of help you with your muscle memory of your left hand, right? A little bit.
If I were allowed to set up the way I move my character within the restrictions that the game feels like it's necessary to place on the player, if they can figure out a way to move those restrictions to allow me to set up my movement and weapon skills or weapon attacks the way I feel like is more comfortable for me to play, still allowing the game to be restricted in the manner that it feels it's necessary, but let me play my style, then it's truly revolutionary, because then I can change it to fit my personal play style without breaking the rules, without breaking the necessities, but still keep with the heart of the game.
I think you have a great point, and I think that goes into something Diggs just said in chat as well, and that's how it needs to be maintained from combat to out of combat. The movement is very different, whether you're building or whether you're moving around, and in combat, equipping a weapon. And I think they need to find a balance between those two game modes, because it seems silly for any new player to get in the game, be exploring, then switch to a weapon when combat happens and have to learn a totally different way to move and fight. So while I do like the sort of smite binding the camera and strafing with the character, the way it's set up, there needs to be some kind of balance between fighting, exploring, and building. Maybe if building was separated by itself.
And I have one other thing about that, the whole key binding and stuff. Like right now, I think that if you put the weapon that you want to use on an action bar and you hit it one time, you equip it. If you hit it another time, you unequip it. If they could remove that, like press it again and unequip it, that would be great, because there's nothing like running around a PvP match and accidentally hit the button twice instead of once, and then you're running around with no weapon going, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like that happened to me on more than one occasion.
So
It is. I totally did. I am so bad.
Hanlon, everyone take a drink.
Bad habits but we did it for the improvement of the show. Like the audio quality from her should be so much better, right? I made one mistake. Please forgive me.
So he mutes me for the quality of the show. You heard it here. You heard it first.
No, I didn't mute you for the quality of the show. We're just trying.
She's still muted. She's still muted.
She shouldn't be muted.
Guys, it's fine. You understand the audio quality is fantastic when nobody's talking.
It is. You have a great point there, sir.
A dead silence that we can get. It's that pure audio quality.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a really good point. I mean, is landmark combat accessible, I guess, is the question in its current state. Is that kind of control scheme accessible to average players of all genres? Because like we said, it is a new game, so we can't say, oh, it's terrible because it's trying to change. But a better question is it accessible?
I would say,
Hamlin, you have a good perspective on this, right?
I would say that if you're an FPS player coming into Landmark for the first time, you're going to adjust very quickly, because it does play a lot like an FPS, in which you're like how you move and how you use your abilities. And so even though it's going from like a strictly like pew 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 types PvP setting to like a more fantasy where you're using swords and staves and bows and stuff, like that difference and that like change to understand how the game is played is very quick, as compared to a traditional MMO player who is playing like Warcraft or EverQuest 2, where you're mostly using either clicking on abilities on your hotbar or you're using your keyboard to use your abilities. It's not completely different. I would say that if you're coming in from an FPS and seeing Landmark for the first time, you're like, okay, I kind of get this. And if you're going and if you're coming the other way, you're like, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on? I can't move well. I can't use my abilities well. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying one's, better than the other, because that's an argument that I just don't particularly care to get into. I'm just saying that my criticisms have nothing to do with that.
My criticisms come strictly from previous experience in playing video games. And so had I have came to Landmark and this was my first MMO, it wouldn't probably wouldn't bother me. It would be like, oh, this is normal, right? I sort of expected it to feel similar to EverQuest 2 with the way you move your character in combat. I mean, it's part of the EverQuest series, right? EverQuest, and then EverQuest 2, and then you've got Landmark and EverQuest Next. I felt like it would be similar, and I feel like it's more like League of Legends and Dota 2, and I don't play those games for one reason. I hate the keyboard's clicky movement. It's not the Twitch thing that doesn't bother me. It's I don't like the way I have to move my characters.
But it's nothing like League of Legends or
it's more like Smite.
Anyway,
It's more like
Smite, and I don't like Smite either for that specific reason.
And I don't know. That's a really good point. It's kind of arguing against the whole premise of the combat system that they've created thus far.
I will tell you this.
I don't know the answer. I know that I enjoy it, that it's fun for me. But I think there might just have to be more accessible ways for you to kind of get into that play style if that's the direction they're going to take the game, right?
I will say this, from looking at how it is right now in PvP and looking PvP in both games that I've played and all the games I've played, you never stand still. You're always moving. And in raiding in Warcraft, because that's where my raid experience comes from, if you're a healer, you basically stand in a spot and you just cast your heals until something is dangerous underneath you, and then you move. And I think that looking at the PvE and projecting out into EverQuest Next maybe a little bit more, I think that it's going to be more interesting to be playing in EverQuest Next, because all of a sudden you're incorporating movement as in part of your basic ability to play the game. You're not just standing there and being like if you're a mage, you're not just standing there going fireball, fireball, fireball. You're incorporating movement into the playstyle, and I think that's good, because it definitely makes it feel like it's more exciting, more dynamic.
It is, and it makes for more of a. I'm not just sitting here spamming or using a mod to click on people's names and spamming heals and then move to another section of the world where I don't stand in the fire and click on more things to spam said heals.
Right, and then one more quick thing. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, Lattice, but Warcraft in Cataclysm, which was expansion before, I remember one encounter specifically, and I'm going to draw that to make the my point right here, where you're doing your average DPS is doing 30k DPS per second, right? And that was considered good DPS. And I remember one encounter late in the expansion where a mage did 50k, so he's doing 40% more than what you would consider good. And he did one. He was spamming one spell and not moving the whole fight. And I don't ever want to play that game again. And when I saw him do that, I told him, I was like, wow, what the hell is going on? And he's like, yep, just spam that one spell, 50k. Better than anything that anybody was doing. And I know it's, like an isolated instant event, whatever. But it was this is a game system that's kind of broke. If somebody can do that in that style of play, it's that's not fun. That's not interesting. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Flatus. Go ahead, take it away.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you. I think that it's natural evolution of MMOs. It's boring, and I want to say that it's boring because you always know that there's always going to be a website out there that's always going to have the strategy posted, because everybody figured out the strategy in beta of what the raid boss does, and at 80% he does this, at 50% he does this, and by 20% he's going to do this one last thing, and then he's dead. And if you don't have the specific gear types, and the numbers are this not high, and if you don't have this amount of healers or this strategy you have to know, we're past it because it's boring. Because once you figure out the puzzle, because it is a puzzle, once you figure out the puzzle of that boss, and everybody knows how to beat the boss, you move on to the next boss and you do the same thing. You figure out the puzzle, everyone stands in the right places so they don't die. And you just keep doing it, and it's rinse and repeat, and it's boring. It's so boring. Is the landmark combat what EverQuest Next combat's going to be? I don't think so.
Oh, I hope not.
Is landmark combat good for what it is, for what the type of game landmark is? Yes, I think it's a lot of fun. I think that we're going to see a lot of interesting builds for arenas, and I think it's gonna grow. Do I think that the way we see combat in Landmark going to affect combat in EverQuest Next? Yeah, to a degree. I don't, I think because they're gonna still have the 8-button abilities, and they want to still and we've already know Dave Jorson has said it's gonna be think of a MOBA, but I think it's still gonna be something along the lines where it's very action based. It's still you're gonna still have to coordinate with your team, and it's gonna be PvE based if that's what you're into. But I would say look at if you're into PvP, look at the movement, look at the arenas, look at how people strategize in these arenas with the different trinkets, and to kind of look at that towards EverQuest Next PvP.
Sure, and I think that it's going to grow a lot more as far as team play has to do with. I think we're going to see as it develops more ways to kind of strategize with players. I think when they tone down movement a little bit, increase aiming, and correct some of these little issues we have right now, that it might take a form that even a lot of us that kind of dislike the system can agree with. I also think that Landmark Combat, it's a great first iteration, and I love the community response so far on what they like and what they do not like. There is so much feedback, more feedback now than I've ever seen in the game, I believe, across Reddit, across the forums, across our podcast and chat, and I really can't wait to see their first implementation of changes. We do only have 19 minutes left in the show tonight. How long is a match, Tenma, that you can set the duration for? Like, what is a good interval, you think, for the tournament or the match tournament, mini tournament?
Well, the way I've got it right now is team deathmatch, and basically I've got it set to 30 points, so the matches don't go for extremely long time. We can have up to 8 people per team, which isn't too bad, and hopefully they will be bumping that up. I believe Dave Jorson said they would. So I'm over here trying to keep myself from getting killed, but I'm trying to remember what else I have up here. But everything's set up. It's just a matter of us starting.
Great. I do real quick. We took screenshots of some arenas that we went to over the weekend and I played on. I want to bring those up and have us kind of comment from a player's perspective, and maybe Tenma, you could look at the build if you've been there, kind of give some feedback on that kind of build. We'll keep it short. Kind of go through the build by build, explain what kind of deathmatch it is or what kind of combat style it is and what we liked and disliked about it. So you can go ahead and bring that up, Tamla, and once we see the 30-second delay of the image on the screen, we can comment on
it. The first one is up.
Okay, I see it now.
Fugazi. Oh, never.
Cold Knight. This is Cold Knight's... Oh, sorry. It is Fugazi. Which one are you going to?
Okay, no, that's Cold Knights. It's Cold Knights. Alright, that's Cold Knights build.
Alright, Cold Knight build. It's a sci-fi build, indoor, multi-level, about 2 full levels and 1 mid-range level. I'll let you guys kind of start off. Just things you liked about it, spread out real quick. Things where you think it could use a little improvement.
I played it for about 45 minutes to an hour today. Cold Knight ended up logging in and playing with us. Had the Helsing Army guys in there, Corona, Zube, Arander, and then myself were in there playing around. We had a blast. I liked it a lot. I liked it that it didn't lend itself to you being able to use the Lunar Anklet or the Belt of the Zephyr, really, because he had roofs. Like, his levels were, like, he didn't have, like, huge gaps between each level, so it was, like, if you had the Lunar Anklet, you would hit stuff, and he had, like, low-hanging, like, catwalks and stuff like that. It was really cool, very well, and he had, the little launch pads that would launch you up into, like, the mid-range level, and it was
if you guys didn't know,
well
in the center, he actually has, like, this, I don't know if it's a turbine, it's some sci-fi object that goes through the middle of the build, and there's glass on each level, and you can kind of see down a little bit to all the other levels. That created so much depth for me that I was just completely blown away. I felt like I was playing some kind of FPS map or something like that. It was really cool designed. I haven't played on it since he made it bigger. I played on it the first day that Combat came out, and it was a lot of fun. Destruction was really cool in it, but it was a little too small at the time, especially for the kind of gameplay that's going on that kind of makes the staff a little OP in a multitude of areas. But very cool build, a lot of creativity, and that's all the comments I really have. Cold Knight, you rock on that. How about you, Timma?
From what I saw, I mean, the low-hanging ceilings definitely is a big part of that. To pretty much nullify some of the things that a lot of other people have been complaining about. I don't have this, I don't have that. Low-hanging ceilings takes care of the lunar anklet. Zephyr belt. Man, not really much of can be done about that. Just you can get up high and just coast over, but as long as you've got obstacles in the way that impedes that, that's the only way to knock out the Zephyr belt is obstacle. And he covered that pretty much well in his build. I was really impressed.
Any other comments on Cold Knight's build, or we can move on? Kailas, I know you haven't played many of these builds, but just from looking at the screenshots, do you have any comments on the aesthetic look? Because I know you're very artsy and creative, so do you like the theme so far? What do you think about the difference?
I think it looks really good, but I mean, my artsy and creative is far different than this, and that's not saying that I dislike it. It's just that the artsy creative that I do is absolutely not this type of artsy and creative. I built all of a lighthouse on my claim. That's all I've built. This looks really good though, and I really like the sci-fi. All of the sci-fi stuff. Like I really like it.
Totally. I will say it's optimized very well. One thing for advice for all builders is that you really need to limit your props, as we said earlier, until it's more optimized, the game, because the more props and more things going around you, I have to set to low settings and I'm still lagging up and stuff like that. So he didn't use a lot of props in that build and it works out.
I have a commentary on my co-host's commentary of you have to. No, you don't have to, but if you want people to enjoy it, you might want to consider it.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Next up, we have Fugazi's build. Correct, Tamla?
Yeah, the wooden building looking ones.
We didn't really get a good screenshot of this one because it's really big and intricate. Tenma talked about it a little earlier. It set up the theme where it's dark elf versus humans, and you kind of go through this torn up city. I haven't played on this one, so I won't comment, but Gladys, you have, and Tenma, you have. Any advice, any constructive feedback that you could give?
Are we for Fugazi's build?
Yes, for Fugazi.
Dude, I had a blast playing that one too. And I don't know, I can say this. I think that the reason why I'm coming into this and saying I had so much fun is because I was playing with all my friends, and that makes a big difference playing these maps, because it got to the point where it was I don't despite my little hang-ups I have with combat, once you get you sit down and you play with your friends and you just get used to it. You don't care how if it's bad or good, it's just how much fun you're having. And Fugazi's map is a solid map. He concentrated on where to put the points. It wasn't where it's the dark elf side had more point, it was easier to cap on the dark elf side than it was the human side. It was nicely set up. It was a lot of fun. It was quick to go back and forth. He put a lot of detail into the buildings. There wasn't a lot of props, so it didn't really lag out. And we had a blast. There was a lot of inside-outside fighting. You could hop over the wall if you had the grappling hook. And the cool thing is, little tricks. I could say this about Fugazi that I learned today is that Fugazi, a lot of his stuff is modular. So a lot of his builds, he built, with the thought of going ahead that he's gonna be able to. We'll see more build like this where he'll be able to take one thing he's built before and modulate it into something else.
And you can have player studio items and stuff to help you build. If someone wants to just build levels and then buy buildings from somebody else because they're not a good builder, they can do so in this.
Yeah, I never thought about that either. But if you're not so much of a builder, but more of a I know PvP arenas and I know how to set them up really nicely, then maybe you're the type to get with somebody like Tenma, get with their group and be like, hey, listen, I can't build, but I can tell you how to make a solid PvP map. Like, I know what to do. Like, I know where to put capture points, and like I know where you should put like launchers and teleport. Like, if you know like that type of stuff, like this is the type of place where you can shine. Where you're like, I may not be able to build, but I know how to like set up a solid PvP map where it's fair on both sides.
Yeah. Tenma, any comments on Fugazi? Anything quick?
Definitely. I got the pleasure of being one of the few people that first got to play it, which was pretty awesome. And he's very open to feedback. With his claim, improvements and stuff like that. Fugazi's always been really great about that. I got to spend the time to help him like do the balancing and stuff with it, and he had it pretty much nailed on the head. First day, that he got it up.
Absolutely. And it seems like we're honestly kind of out of time. It's cutting really short. So what I will do is, Tamlin, if you scroll down, I'll just kind of shout out the builds, and maybe we can return later, because these are all builds you should go and check out, because they are phenomenal. This next one's by Cordovar. We had a lot of fun on it the other night, running around destroying things. It's a cool build. It's well optimized, has a good flow to it, and I really enjoyed it. After that, we have... What is after that, Sir Tamlin?
Shaylin's simple wood one.
Yeah, you go ahead and talk about that one real quick.
Sorry, I was going to bring out a better picture of it. Yeah, so this was my first real the PvP match that I spent the most time on. I really liked it because it proved that you didn't have to do something very complex to have a good match thing. This is simply just tree props and rock props and running around as a death match. This was also where I found out that that props such as trees can be shot through, so you have to, you can't hide behind things. And that's it. Then we had one more.
Yeah, after Shaylin, we have Sogs, actually, right? Sogs,
I can go to Sogs.
In the Air Arena. Yeah, that is insane. The only thing I can give feedback-wise is it sucks when you fall to your death, because it's 3 claims in the air and 1 in the center on the ground. So if you fall out of that arena and you die in an area, you might actually respawn after the timer sets off. So it's kind of weird in that regards, and it can kick you from the game. That happened a couple times to me, and it's insanely frustrating when that happens. So I guess I could just suggest, I don't know.
Don't die.
Don't die.
Don't fall off, I guess. Or maybe make it so there's a funnel at the bottom that catches players that fall and directs them to the center point.
Or maybe just really don't walk off the edge.
It's impossible, especially with a bow that shoots you off the edge. I mean, it's made to fall off.
I've actually played on that one.
Well,
I didn't fall off.
My constructive criticism to SOG is make it so when I fall off, because I will fall off and other players will, make it so there's a way we get attracted to the center claim and don't get kicked out of the game, because that can really screw up the game. Other than that, awesome builds.
It's a building aspect. It's a building aspect, because the way it is, you've got a center one claim at the bottom, and when you go up, it branches out. If you fall out of the claim, it counts you as have left the game. And when that happens, you're going to be kicked out. There's no way around it. Also, when it comes to building your particular build, don't put a spawn point near the edge, because it will kick you out sometimes of the actual.
Yeah. My only fix for that would be like, if you know, like I know it would take away from the aesthetic that I like from it, but I guess would be like putting like some sort of platform separate from the actual arena. But if people fell to that, they would die, but still somehow let it be like they could still be able to jump back into the game without like, oh, I fell, I'm dead. But
and maybe devs can put this kind of voxel that if you touch it, like a lava voxel that could be invisible, or maybe you can trigger transparency where he could coat the entire floor of it. So if you fell off the platform, you'd still instantly die, but you wouldn't be caught out of the arena. That's something maybe devs could consider.
Or be able to drag down I know it's like a claim thing, but I'd be able somehow to like say like this, even though there's space here, like this still is part of the PvP arena. regardless of if there actually is anything. Like, but if you fall from that height, like they have it still high up, and if you die, you die. But the spawn points are still up there. But
Yeah. Figure out a way to, write that into the code. All right. And that's our feedback there. All these are really cool builds. I'm going to post them all on Twitter during the next couple minutes if my internet will start working right. So you can definitely catch the recap of those and go visit them in game because they are fantastic. Even if you don't like fighting, go check it out. There's also a build called Town of Heroes, which we didn't really get to. This was Tantal Knight's first match. It's really cluttered and it's hard to play on, but it's beautiful. So my constructive feedback to Hero, if he listens, is to kind of open it up a little more. While it's cool to have all the little different rooms and towns, it's just a little too much for a player's perspective at this type of and pace of combat. But let's go ahead, switch in game to our PvP tournament. Tenma is on location. Do you want to go ahead and get the game going? Tell us who is on the roster. I'm going to bring up Tenma's stream so we are talking on the right delay as we commentate this. Remember, we're giving a Colonist Flight Suit and a Gem Seeker's Brooch out. They will go to the highest score and the lowest score. And we're not sure in which order, so you'll just have to play to find out. We'll do one match. It's team deathmatch. That's why we're going by score. And this should be a lot of fun. Once again, this is on location live in the Thunderdome.
All right, and we have the arena screen up.
All right. I'm basically going to call out basically what we're fixing to do. I'm fixing to reset this match, and that way we're starting back from scratch, and we'll play the whole entire thing through from beginning to end, and we can kind of go.
This is going to be so fun to watch. Man, I can't wait to see our players. All right.
So basically we're going to start with a fresh match, and the first 8 that gets in it wins. And I'm going to join it, and I'm just not in the voting for the
all right.
voting actually get around and see things, because if not, you see them.
Is there any way you can bring up the list of players real quick while we get it going, so we can just kind of commentate who's actually playing with us tonight?
Yeah, Neurotoxin's in here. Rex, Zuby, Joseka, Rihanna, Siri, and Dory.
Awesome. This should be good.
And we're still waiting for the last one, which is Nahashina.
Oh, and Doran's in there. Yeah, we got some Helsing Army on location. Yeah, all right. Now, from my experience with these players, Neurotoxin is a strong competitor. So is Zubei. So those two, I don't know about anybody else because I haven't seen anyone else play, but those two are definitely someone to watch for the high scoring on this match. The low scoring Andoran is there, so he might actually claim this title. We'll see. Anyways. That's a good point. Now, we see a lot of use of the Belt of the Zephyr, looks like, on Tenma himself, and it seems to be that the shotgun, which I like to call it the shotgun, but the Mage Staff is the favorable weapon so far in this arena. Everyone seems to be going to that, and I don't know whether that's just because it's a little overpowered right now compared to the other weapons, or whether it's just good for this arena-style combat. We'll see if those tactics kind of change up as the match evolves. Yeah. That's exactly what it looks like. Now, I really love the amount of verticality going on in this build. I love the layering. There's like, what, 4 full layers if you count those little spheres up top. And honestly, I would imagine would be more like bowmen on those discs way up there, because they seem like they're almost untouchable, and no one seems to be going up there. So that could be a legitimate strategy for players to kind of go ahead and utilize, but we'll see.
Yeah, it totally switched camera screens and commentating on some PvP and had myself muted. That's awesome.
Oh no.
I will say this, because I played in Thunderdome earlier today. I mean, if you are really good with the bow and arrow, I would suggest taking the teleporter to the top and aiming down, and you can get some shots off. Dude. They're quick, they're dirty, but they're effective.
So, since Flatus, you're the one who has some experience with this arena before, is this like
Sure.
not good for a sword user? Do you ever see people
No,
using the sword?
I tore up with the sword, and I'll tell you why. Because there's so many levels. The top level, like especially the top level, where you can take the teleporter on the level that he's on right now. If they take that teleporter to the very tippy top, a lot of people go up there with the staff. My strategy up top was bubble with the staff, and then run through with the sword, and then start carving holes in the ground, and let them fall beneath me. If I could, but if there were multiple people, I'd just jump off the ledge myself and aim for the bottom and try to land in that little pool of water over there that they have. But the sword, I think the sword works, especially because if you can get people. If you're on the same team with somebody and somebody plays out their bubble, or you get a couple of people that throw out multiple bubbles, and you run in there with the sword, their armor's broken, and you run them through and stun them.
I think that's a good point. I also think that switching weapons can sometimes be good too. I see a lot of times people use the staff combo to stun somebody, and then move to the sword to be able to knock their armor down even more and kind of crit them afterwards. That seems to be a playstyle that a lot of people adapt to. I did see a couple people starting to use the bow, and a couple people using the sword as well, but Tenma seems to be tearing everybody up.
Well,
with the staff.
I saw our good friend Andoran. If he did not get the kill on that one, he definitely got an assist, and he got it with the sword. I saw him as Tenma was blasting away with the shotgun staff. He stunned him with the charge with the sword. And like I said, I don't know if he got the kill because of that, because the person died directly after that.
Yeah, we don't have assists in the game yet, which will be an important aspect to add soon.
Well, the thing is, they don't. In the settings, you can turn on points for assist, but right now, they don't.
Oh, you cut off. I'm sorry. They don't calculate it, or is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, they don't work at the current moment.
They don't. It's something that they're going to add. They want to add is the ability to measure assists, because it happens a lot where like you'll be running around, or like let's say I was doing a lot of damage and Chad got the last hit. Chad would get claimed to death. So that is something to look into, especially like if you want, But I mean, this is all in fun. I mean, it depends if they're going to add a competitive.
Yeah, I'd love to see some kind of camera setting observer. They have that observer mode in PlanetSide 2. That could be really cool to see in this game, because I could honestly see a lot of cool tournaments coming out of this, and maybe even sort of a little competitive.
Absolutely.
I mean, at least within the community, because we see building guilds and stuff all the time. That could be easy.
No, I'm telling you that it is coming. I don't want to jump the gun and talk about stuff that I don't have the full details on, but I know that there are already discussions about doing some tournaments with some prizes, and I mean these PvP leagues, and not guilds, but PvP leagues, they're coming. People are already working on it. It's just that it's really early in it, and they want to finalize the details before they get it out. I do have one question for you guys, since we all have like different experiences in PvP before coming to Landmark. In Warcraft PvP, again, what I have the most experience in, you never backpedaled. I mean, if you were smart, you just removed that keybind and keybound it to something else. And the reason was because since it was tab targeting, you could move your fastest direction just by strafing away, and then you would just turn your camera angle 90 degrees so that you could, keep what you were looking at in front of you, so that you could keep your eye on the action, but still move away from whatever at your full speed and be able to hit it. Now, again, like I said, I am seeing backpedaling, and what are you guys' experience with backpedaling in Landmark PvP or in other games?
I can say this.
Very important to have. Oh, I might have missed the question.
Go, Kyle.
I don't backpedal. It's death.
All right. So to say it simply, In Warcraft, you do not ever backpedal because you can move at your fastest movement speed, strafing away, and because your arc of attack is 180 degrees in front of you, you can move away from people while keeping them in your frontal arc and still attack them. If you're moving directly away from them, you're not moving as fast away. So there's a significant disadvantage by backpedaling away. Now I'm watching people here that have, they're using backpedaling, and I want to know what your guys' experience with it. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
Different combat style. So backpedaling here it wouldn't be the same as Warcraft, where backpedaling would keep you to death. Here, backpedaling is more of a let me back out of the bubble, let me back out of being able to out of range of the sword, or let me backpedal and strafe real quick to dodge that arrow that may be hitting me. So backpedaling is okay here. It is something that is you'll notice a lot of people do. I backpedal in this game, but then of course I come from the 3D first person shooter type area where no matter what direction you go, you're still shooting. So it's kind of the same here. It's very much like you're always on the move, regardless if it's forward, backward, up, down, left, right. It doesn't matter. You're constantly moving. You're constantly shooting, and you're trying to get hits in.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate strategy in this game from what I've seen so far, and that's just because of the arena, probably. I think it will vary based on the arena, but since you're in that kind of 3D environment, there are sort of doorways and stuff where if you're in that situation, backpedaling can yield a very effective approach, because the fact that you can kind of turn corners and keep firing without the worry of someone behind you could make a huge difference, because you can do a lot of damage in that frontal arc. Just because they're running at you in this game doesn't mean they're always going to win. From what I've seen so far. So in an open field, I could imagine it could be very bad because you are slowed down. But in a more close range build, I think it could be completely effective. All right, and so far in the match, looks like we have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. It's hard to tell who is in the lead right now, but it will be very interesting to see who comes out on top.
Michael, yep.
Michael. He's got about 2 points.
Wow, all right, fantastic. That's funny because it wasn't even either of my picks in the lead right now. Now, Zube, he's kind of far behind Rex, too, to be honest.
Neurotoxin got bugged.
He got what?
Neurotoxin bugged out for some reason there. He had some kind of a bug.
Oh, that's a shame.
I saw our good friend Andoran, and Andoran is quick to switch to that sword. I've seen him charge a couple of times in this match.
Now, what is your feedback on that charge ability? I hate that it has a cast time to it. I think that it should be, I'm a swordsman, I should be fast, just let me right-click it and let it be on a cooldown. It kind of stinks for me that I have to kind of hold it for a second before I dash and then have it be on a cooldown, because a lot of times I'm running and I try and get in a situation and it just doesn't go off right because I haven't clicked it the right amount of time, or I clicked it too early or something like that. What are your thoughts on that specific part of combat?
I kind of agree, because that thing has saved me from falling to my death. Believe it or not, because it stops you mid-air. Like, you'll freeze mid-air and then launch yourself in that direction you want to go. So
Sog joined the match, and he tried to get me, but yeah.
Yeah, he didn't work out so well.
My feedback on the sword is exactly what Tenma said earlier. Like, I agree 100% with him. You should, if you charge and you hit a target, you should stop on that target, or you should carry that target with you to the end of it. You shouldn't have to charge through someone, turn around, and then start hitting them.
All right, Cobalt wins. Michael Flatley.
All right, highest score. And who is the lowest score? They're also going to
Nero.
Can you go ahead and copy down those names to me and send them to me a little later? What I'll do is I will get those codes sent off tomorrow for everybody, for the winners. Thank you all so much for participating. Or actually,
as soon as it's gone off the screen, it's gone.
Hey, that's okay, because what I can do is just look at the VOD, or Flatus has it. Perfect, fantastic.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I got the VOD.
Now, are you going to continue to run PvP a little bit tonight, Timma?
Of course.
All right.
I might not stream it, but we are going to play it.
Okay, good. So if you guys still want part of the action, be sure to head to Timma's Thunderdome claim. It's going to have some more PvP action there for you. Even if you haven't tried it out yet and might be a little afraid, go ahead and give it a shot.
And
That's my
I
suggestion.
would like to say that when you go into one of these claims and you actually play PvP on them, if you like that map, give it a thumbs up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Give some of these, especially the smaller ones, the ones that haven't even gotten any players on it yet. Go out there and try them. Get a few of your friends, go out there and try some of the lower ones, the ones that have like 1 or 2 votes or 0 votes. See what they have, what they've created, and promote that community. To say, hey, this is a really good build. People need to know about this one. It's something that really helps the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Take time, get all your friends in the game, and just go around to all the lower voted ones and just try them out. You may be surprised. You never know. Just because someone doesn't have a popular name on Twitter or has a Twitch doesn't mean they're a bad builder. They may have a great build, and just go try them out.
And be sure to follow people too. In the gallery, there's a new follow option. Make sure to follow your favorite builders. It won't give you a precise, I can click his profile from a list and see all of his builds or her builds at once. But what it'll do is kind of notify you when something new has been built, or that's at least the premise of it. So we'll see it more implementation as it goes forward, but it's kind of like a like for the builders too. That kind of sums it up for our show tonight, guys. I know we still have tons to talk about combat.
So much.
There should be this next month. We didn't really get to the blueprint, but there will be a lot of much needed optimizations coming. We'll see how those turn out. We do have a show next Sunday, so be sure to kind of stop by. I believe we are going to be talking about combat in more of a PvE-oriented way and the possibilities for it in this current implementation. But you'll see more of that when it comes up. I'd like to thank Tinma for coming out. Tinma, do you want to go ahead and give yourself one more plug? You've been a great guest. Very glad to have you.
I do stream in here on Twitch. Primarily tutorial type stuff. We've been doing the PvP stuff because it is the newest thing that's out there. But we do primarily do the tutorials and stuff like that, which I love doing. Definitely. Timma_EQNL here in Twitch, I don't know, I'll probably say something in chat and you can right click my name and follow. And my camera looks like poo.
Yes, sorry about that.
I'm running the game. But yeah, I think it's because I'm running the game right now, but it's all good. Let me see. But yeah, I normally do the streaming. I'm really big into the community and stuff. I'm the community leader, GOAT, whatever you want to call it, for Colossus. And if you want to be part of Colossus or whatever, contact myself or one of my moderators.
Go Team Colossus. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Any last comments from my co-hosts before we call it a night?
I have one thing to say. We didn't really get to the blueprint, but I wanted to say that reading back through the blueprint one more time and seeing that Smoke Jumper Dave Georgeson captured the completed things that they have completed as part of the blueprint process. It's the first time I've ever played an MMO where I have felt like an actual shareholder. Like they have the company is a shareholder, and then, I am a shareholder. I own part of this game, and they feel accountable to me. And that is part of their documentation process that yes, we said we were going to do it. This is when we did it. And so there's this awesome rapport that is building between in the community between the developers and the players, where I feel like this is the first time where what I say matters to a development company.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in to, what episode is this? 25?
29.
29!
Oh my god. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 20. That happened fast. Well, this weekly thing's just going to rack them up. Thanks for coming out to episode 29. Remember, next week we are going to be 2 hours earlier. That's going to be our new schedule. We'll give you tons of reminders throughout the next week. And once again, thank you for Tim for coming out tonight. Be sure to like us here on, or follow us here on Twitch, like us on Twitter, and follow our blog at evercastshow.blogspot.com, where we keep all of our podcasts kind of nicely organized for you. Tinma, do you want to go ahead and close this out tonight with our traditional camping?
What?
Just camp us out one more time if you wouldn't mind.
It's just
Okay.
It's tradition on the show. That's all. That's how we say goodnight.
All right.
Camping. Sorry, we gotta say camping. All right, here we go. Camping in 5. Come on, Tinma, it's all you, man.
I got a better. I got a better one. Colossus rules. 5, 4, 3, 2.
See you next week.